While most of the world is simply dozing out, we have been quietly observing the largest companies embracing tokenization. They aren't even interested in investigating half of this. I talk to a lot of people outside of the crypto world on a daily basis, and the things I say to them and the responses they give me validate everything. And by that, I mean that it shows me that hardly anyone is taking notice of what's going on. Almost no one is aware of the largest revolution taking place in front of them, and nobody is paying attention to the big money. Tokenization is more than just a gimmick. That's what's going on at the moment. We go back to April, when Larry Fink warned that if we could address one issue, the market, from equities to bonds to real estate, would soon be tokenized. BlackRock is only trying to promote digital identification, and we already know why. However, I believe that tokenization occurs even in the absence of digital identification. However, we already know what's coming because major entities like BlackRock are telling us this and preparing the markets. We are aware of the future. Everything of value will eventually be tokenized. It's intriguing, though, because BlackRock has been deliberately speeding this up. Larry Fink was pleading with the SEC to quickly authorize the tokenization of bond stocks as early as January of this year. As we already know, BlackRock was among the first participants to begin tokenizing in significant quantities. The absurd thing is that prominent figures like the CEO of Robinhood continue to warn that efforts to implement security tokenization are hampered by a lack of U.S. rules. Alongside Larry Fink, he was advocating for unambiguous rules governing tokenized securities in the United States. Once more, the SEC is being strongly urged by these well-known CEOs to support tokenization. And then, of course, comes Ripple. Therefore, Ripple did publish a post discussing the upcoming change and what's happening with tokenization back in early April. Now, the important thing to sort of look at is what Ripple was stating in this paper, which I'll discuss in a moment, as well as what they were forecasting in terms of the monetary amount. However, they claimed that 0.6 trillion may easily turn into $6 or $18.9 trillion by 2033. It used to be around $16 trillion. However, this is still changing, and we are seeing an increasing number of projections that demonstrate how quickly things will change in the years to come. But we examine why a lot of this is being driven by appropriate regulation and institutional adoption. Bonds and real estate are examples of tangible assets that are experiencing significant growth. However, there is also faster interoperable financial infrastructure, which is a huge game changer. This obviously makes things more efficient and changes the way money moves. It also makes very prominent processes that are very inefficient, for instance, using paper-based processes, digital, and speeds up everything. As we examine this, we continue to question what is preventing all of this. In a moment, we will return to that topic. We also have a pricing forecast for the RWA market over here. According to STM, by 2030, there will be 30 trillion. Once more, it seems like there are price forecasts everywhere. Their base case was this. By 2030, their bull case was worth 50 trillion. But once more, restrictions are necessary to get there. Even in this Ripple article, correct? Following that, banks made calculated investments in fintech M&A. Once more, this is really intriguing because, as you are aware, Ripple already has bank investments such as Standard Chartered. They were also among the first to invest in Ripple. However, tokenization scales rapidly once these issues are resolved. Aside from that, SEC Commissioner Hester Peirce has stated that legal clarity is necessary for tokenization to realize its full potential. Without legal clarity, tokenization cannot realize its full potential. Even in cases where state law has specifically permitted or contemplated the use of a crypto network in connection with the maintenance of securities ownership records, issuers and transfer agents remain uncertain as to whether a crypto network can serve as the master security holder file or a component thereof for the purposes of the Exchange Act of the Exchange Act's transfer agents rules. Additionally, any security tokenization is included in the Commission's Special Purpose Broker-Dealer Statement, which defines crypto asset security. Furthermore, we are aware that the SEC contemplated new regulations on May 8 that would facilitate the issue of security tokens. I take it that this was primarily on securities? Accordingly, the SEC is attempting to support this when we examine what they are attempting to accomplish here. They are working to establish clear regulations and give tokenization initiatives clarity so that these major players can participate fully. They understand the importance of tokenization as we begin to transition to a more digitally based system and the importance of the US supporting this heavily because the US must support this if they wish to become a tech leader in the crypto space. Outside of this, we also heard Paul Atkins discuss how his top goal is to create a logical regulatory framework for cryptocurrencies, stressing the importance of unambiguous guidelines in this area. Take a look. Creating a sensible regulatory framework for the markets for cryptocurrency assets that lays out precise guidelines for their issue, custody, and trading, while also discouraging lawbreakers would be a top goal of mine as chairman. Clear guidelines are essential for protecting investors against fraud, not the least of which is to assist them in spotting illegal schemes. Thus, we're heading toward a much more controlled environment. The only thing left to do is wait. Additionally, SEC Governor Paul Atkins is giving the keynote address during today's tokenization round. He outlined the 3 policy areas the agency is concentrating on in order to investigate new registration exemptions and safe harbors and provide more precise criteria for the issuing of cryptocurrency. Give customers more alternatives for custody, such as self-custody and possible revisions to the definition of a qualified custodian. Next, investigate modernized ATS regulations and integrated trading platforms to better support cryptocurrency assets. However, when we consider the true situation, all of the actions that the SEC is doing and will take in the future will center on a few issues. DeFi and rules pertaining to cryptocurrency in general are obviously important, but tokenization and stablecoins will be at the forefront of this. Stablecoins will likely be the main focus at first, but tokenization is like the most important thing. And the reason I say that is because CEOs like Vlad and Larry Fink have pushed and asked the SEC to support tokenization already because they recognize how significant this is. What's crazy, though, is that we now know that the DTCC's patent was fully exposed more recently. This patent, as you may recall, dealt with the tokenization of quadrillions of global assets. And we emphasized this, don't we? XRP was involved, HR was involved, and, of course, there were a few others. Once more, public blockchains are the primary force behind this. You must have access to public blockchains. You must use public blockchains if you truly want to tokenize and you want to, get what you want in terms of efficiency, in terms of reaping the true value of this technology. Private blockchains are no longer the issue. 2 major ones that we're kind of looking at are the fact that Aberdeen has already plugged in with Hedera and even the XRP. For this reason, tokenization is starting to gain traction on the trading side, and roles centered around tokenization are being created in an effort to expand this market. Many of these public networks with enormous sums of money tokenized on them will emerge as well-known brands in the industry, and I do believe that their value will rise as a result of retailers learning about what's truly going on. Having said that, I hope you all found this video entertaining. If you did, please turn on subscribe alerts so that we can send you more free stuff. Please feel free to join the free Discord down description below and follow me on Twitter. Having said that, it's been Crafters, guys. Thank you for viewing. Goodbye.